Thank you so much, James and Steve, as we head into, as I said, the very last wrangle here of the losers bracket. And I'm not sad about it. I'm really excited for Miramar.
I'm just caught off that you use their first names. I feel like they're in trouble now.
Yeah, so...
James, Steve, get over here. What did you just do?
You know, we're really good friends, so like I can say it. You know,
I set you up for that one.
I made that joke yesterday too, so I'm a little old. But yeah, same plane path, same exact plane path actually.
Dude, these north-south have been very, very common as we're moving into it. Just also as close to center. We just had that one really weird southern east-west that we had go over military base, but other than that, plane paths all in all have been pretty solid.
Plane paths, I think this entire tournament we've only really had two like kind of wonky ones, and even then like the circles seem to be somewhat regular.
How do we get these really nice plane paths into an absolute no man's land of the in-game circles?
Yeah, that one ended just to the west of Yas Lake. And as you saw, there was really nothing to play there. But again, I really do have to credit 4AM with taking their time there, sweeping the south side of the circle. They knew they had a lot of room as no one else was on the east, and they were methodical. And that's exactly what we've been needing to see from them, because 4AM, it's almost been like a game of hesitation with them and not being as aggressive or even like realizing when to pull off the trigger when they've needed to. A 7-7-7 will win that UAZ. And although there's no threat of the knock there, yeah, he will let him know.
I love the honks. Whenever you get it first and you're like, I like turn and look at him and just honk as you go like, no, this is mine.
That's a little irritating if you're 17. You're like, oh, you little...
Oh, you're gonna die.
Oh, look at this circle, though. As we go right back to the West Coast, we were granted a very Western-leaning circle yesterday, which I was excited about, because it's been a long time since we've seen those, specifically because those fields as well as swamp. There's actually so many different terrain types in that circle, so it is very fun to watch.
Look, I'm just a simple man.
Fun to play, too.
I want to see either mortars shot off of Everest or onto Everest, and this circle provides the opportunity for that to happen.
It does, as we see teams around that, specifically D plus Kia will be looting up in the north. You also do see Game PT, as you know, they like to sit up in North Georgia as well. So not that many teams in the circle yet, but I imagine with the way that the teams have been setting up, especially in this lobby, we're actually not going to see too many fights on the edge. I say that, and we'll probably see all the fights on the edge.
I also do want to point out the fact that one of the reasons we don't see as much is shooting from the top of Everest or to the top of Everest kind of throws off a lot of your math, because you're used to like a lot of the mortar angle velocities and stuff like that. You're used to them coming back down. Sure. And that kind of accounts for some of the distance that comes into play. Whenever you're firing from the top, they go out further, and whenever you're trying to hit the top, you have to kind of dial it back significantly.
We actually saw mortar knocks and kills being traded. I think it was between LG and D plus Kia, so they were pretty dialed into each other's positions. And you know, we were kind of curious about, before the event even started, Matt, we're talking, all of us talent, we're talking about, like, you know, how many teams are actually going to use mortars, and we realized very quickly that quite a few are starting to really kind of dial in these plays with that new item, and it's been devastating for some teams.
And a lot of the teams that were good with them in the winners bracket, they went ahead and moved directly in. They're in the grand finals. We haven't been seeing them be as common or as directed. They are still happening, but they haven't been as impactful here. And I'm just curious if that's a gun. I'm sure that's just kind of a meta and adjustment thing, right?
Yeah, give them time. I feel like we're going to start seeing mortars, especially like if you are one of the teams that is in a position, whether it's a compound or just like a very strong position outside of a compound in some sort of terrain element when the circle lands on you. If you're getting gifted, having mortars is actually so devastating, because not only are you in a position where you can hold, but you're also in a position where you can abuse that new item, right? You don't have to worry about a team crashing you, or maybe you have everyone else kind of watching around you and you're safe to just fire away round after round, especially if you're in a compound, let's say, that has extra mortar shells, and you're looking at a team that's stuck in a dip like Kingwin dip or you know, Tempo dip, or really any of the dips that we know are very popular in all these maps. It can be absolutely devastating, as we've also seen Tig get a headshot with a mortar.
That was still wild, dude. Just a straight up headshot with a mortar. That is...
Trigonometry, I believe is what they called it.
Yeah, dude, Gunnar was really proud of that one. He was real proud of that one.
It's good.
Okay, looking in, let's give you guys some updates. Most of our team is going to be trying to play around, as we've been seeing a very centered meta. I want to give you guys a heads up. The center of this one is kind of field. So that's one of the reasons why we're seeing a more north-south shift in the way that people are trying to play, leaning more into what we would say the Everest hillside, into the Quarry hillside, and the comfort inside of that, maybe hoping for more of a 50-50 shift in the hard shift, because why not expect a hard shift at this stage, right?
Yeah, I mean, the tournament has been pretty brutal with hard shifts, but I do like the fact that Batulins has not given up. He did get shot off on the east side of Everest, so he's like, you know what? I only heard one set of shots. I'm going to go to the west side of Everest. And sure enough, yeah, he is there. And they love fighting over this specifically because of how much information you can gather from the top of that, right? Especially in a circle like this where you would potentially want to rotate. You would be able to see all the positions in front of you. You could see if teams are rotating or if they're holding tempo reds or any of those, you know, kind of spots around Gatka. So not surprising at all to see Twisted Minds kind of fight for the top of Everest, even though it's not center circle.
I mean, Batulans, high ground, getting information for a squad,
Hand in hand.
never. We never see that.
And look at this, actually, Matt. Sarvam has pulled up on the east side of this as well. So Game PT have to be very careful because if they do get in a fight, you know that Twisted Minds is going to hear that and immediately go for a third party.
While this is happening, we also have, I believe that D plus Kia that's going to be playing on the western side of this. They're being held back by all the movements that's happening with the lower end of Twisted Minds right now off that high ground point, so they don't want to move in too much. But if you mind still just trying to hunker down into all of the hills and, or I guess, the clefts at the top of the mountain, you can't really call them hills on top of a mountain, right?
True. But yeah, clefts or ridges, I guess, yeah. Whatever you'd want to call them. Either way, this is...
rocky recesses.
Ooh, I like that.
Ah.
RR. Very nice. But yeah, Game PT now are starting to become aware that there is another team on the east side as they did shift a little bit towards Twisted, but Twisted I think is more or less just kind of giving up on, not giving up, but they're just kind of backing off. There's no real reason for them to take a fight early on the top of Everest.
They're more after the information to be had rather than the actual position itself, what could be provided with, because you're going to get so much just to be able to deal with the fields that are down to the south of you. You can see kind of the downside is Sarvam is going to be trying to cut across this. They've been kind of getting away with this. Well, I say that sometimes they've been getting away with it.
Sometimes, sure.
When it works, it works. And when it doesn't, boy, it doesn't. Is they're going to send it by. A couple of shots going to be coming out from them. Not the easiest of pathing, as most of this stuff is kind of taken until they get back down to that quarry area.
Yeah, the east side and center of this circle, Matt, is an absolute mess, as you do see 17 now currently holding a duo here in the old tempo reds. As Shawu is going to pull out a Panzer. Is he going to find it? No, he's just going to go for the spray instead. And is Sarvam stopping here? No, Baron Peak's going to get knocked.
Yeah, they're going to make the stop here.
Shawu!
Go down as well. Panzerfrost can be a problem. I feel like that was coming out from the window. Suju trying to make sure they can get them a Molotov out there to see if he can slow down, or at least maybe Viking Funeral somebody. He's having to fend up. The rest of 17 Gaming now trying to come in as quick as possible. But remember the firing lines that we saw Sarvam have to deal with as they came in. They're having to kind of contest with that as well. So it's slowing them down. Suju, though, doing a great job on hitting the shot, slowing through. The nade's going to connect right as the reinforcements are landing, though.
And that was a massive mistake there. Shawu going down was obviously, I mean, there's no other way to say it. That was just not great, as now it's going to be two members. And Sheila finds a nice nade on the Xiaobei, Matt.
That was just beautifully tossed and cooked. Aim just lined in. Lil Ghost, the last one up. It is the dream for 17 Gaming to try to hold together that smoke. Not quite going outside, so the next going to have to move away from it, as this is just trying to, I guess, recoup something in a bad situation.
Yeah, whatever they can get, but as they've been doing that, it's going to be the Expendables. They've been watching this. They know that there's multiple locks and potentially only 2 members up for each specific team that they're watching here, so I would not be surprised, especially with 777's position, if they're going to get even more aggressive on this one, Matt, and they should.
And this is kind of the way that we've been seeing the Expendables play, right? They let 777 kind of come in, scout, feed the information over. He almost feels like he's feeding the information back into figuring out whether or not do we make our more bold play here. And until the firefight happens, I don't think that we're going to see them move, but it is also the Expendables. They might get a knock of their own and decide to move.
I say they should, but at this point they can't. It's going to be Twisted Minds pulling up on Gatka North, and so that's going to stop any form of push. And very wisely, though, again, the Expendables making great decisions. They're going to pull off. They realize that that's not a very feasible option now. They're just going to let these two duos coexist in this very tight compound and just pull off to a better position.
I want translated comms from that squad so bad, because I want to hear their decision-making processes during these stages is so clean.
It's been so solid. I agree with you 100%, Matt. Again, not only the ability for them to win team fights, but just kind of pulling off certain fights. Yeah, some of their rotations have been a little wonky, and they've lost half their members doing so, but I think that their communication has to be very clean, as we're now moving into 2 teams that have been struggling. It's going to be DD team taking a fight here with Luminosity, Matt.
It's a pretty strong position, specifically if we do see the circle come to the south, but DDT trying to just defend up, use those recesses in the hillside, but LG trying to go for a flank around Kickstart, being a little bit more wild and loud to see if maybe he can be a distraction to allow Snakers to kind of get into a position. If people start taking shots over into the Kickstart line, then that means that Snakers can find something. Rello also going to start trying to regroup, as he did lose the teammate that he was kind of running along with, so instead it looks like they're just going to lean into a very eastern line, but at the same time, with the amount of time it's taken, DDT getting the res, and they're also cementing their defensive line.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is just a straight-up net loss for LG as Flood has followed, and they've also given up so much control now to DDT. They're able to kind of surround them, and this fight was taking place in the circle. Now the circle is shifted straight to Gatka, basically chopsticks is now center, Matt. It's been a while since we've seen a chopsticks ending as DDT now starting to push the pace here against LG.
Man, I'll take me a chopsticks ending anytime. Emo Pig, one of the best names of a player at this.
Sexy Pig, I miss him as well. Could you imagine if they were on the same team?
Sexy Pig, Emo Pig, and Waikikamuka all on the same squad.
Oh, that's good. I didn't even think about Waikikamuka now is LG. What do they do here, man? Are they going to be able to defend this here?
They've got Snakers on the outside, but there's not a lot of information. I mean, he can feed information, but there's not a lot he can do. Rello's going to go down. Kickstart's got to win this fight. The defend up, looks back in, takes a lot of damage from both of the aggression, but now is going to have to try to step away from it. Does at least manage to sneak back into where Snaker's going to be at in the recess line. Snaker's going to be able to defend up, and this is why he wanted to get back into this position. Snakers can defend him up, and now they've got more control. This nade looks like it, if it lands too far, I was going to say, yeah, it looks like it's going to go too far, but I like the idea on what they were trying to do there.
The first one cooked a little too long, the second one not cooked enough, but Snakers went huge there, getting that knock on a cold. Otherwise, Kickstart was dead to rights, and so they do kind of stave off this push a little bit. They'll maintain a slight reset as DDT, I'm curious if they're actually going to either push the pace or just try to get out of here.
Well, this is such a weird situation for both of these squads that are lower on the leaderboard, right? They know that they're not inside the safe zone, but kills are what they need. That's going to be their lifeblood to try to help them get back into this one. So, and are they going to go for circle, or are they just going to go to try to reset? It did look like they left Mamu back behind this, and if they are going for a flank over here.
This is a bait, though. This is a very nice bait from DD Team, as you see Snakers already shifting away towards the other two members of DD Team, and so I don't think they know that Mamu is still there. Kickstart might hear him if he's starting to move up, but again, this duo is very much on the back foot as Snakers will find Mamu.
That is a big. Now, Emo Pig, Spaceman, both making their move in. Snaker's going to be the line up. Spaceman's going to look in. He's got the rock, knows where he's going to be at. Meds are going to be coming through. The push comes out, doesn't get the knock in time. Reinforcements, are we going to see it? No! Snaker's just going to step in. He doesn't even need the support. Snakers finding the way to get some points in. Kickstart going for the defense, and there you go. LG manages to win a team fight.
Very nice. I mean, they do lose two, but that was big. That was very big, I would say, for the boys' confidence there moving forward. They're able to clean up DDT, get some points, and as a duo in the circle, there's definitely some spots that they can play where they'll be able to kind of survive a little bit and maybe get some placements. So some life now finally from LG.
It's going to be hectic to move in. You can see that we're looking at that 8th place position right now, 37 points. There is a drop off, about 6 points into Forest, 1 point back behind that with Ty Lou, 1 point behind everybody else going down into Friendly Fire after that, which is another 5-point drop off as Circle still has Everest in play. As you were talking about Chopsticks a second ago, Na'Vi and Friendly Fire both playing opposite sides of the Chopsticks.
Yeah, Friendly Fire and Na'Vi both in very strong positions here, as they will be able to kind of hold the compounds they're holding and then head into the Chopsticks later if they need. Obviously, we know heading into Chopsticks very early can be a death sentence, especially with all the utility coming through. Now with the advent of mortars as well, I mean, that's just something else to worry about. But even just regular utility nades is going to be devastating if a team does commit too early. So I like that they're just kind of holding opposite sides, as we now are starting to watch 4AM rotate in, and I do worry about where they're going to land, Matt.
Yeah, this is, if you're sending it in, already inside the vehicles, waiting for the circle of pop. Chopsticks maintains being the center position, so that's going to make this one a bit more interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if we see just 4M crash just directly into the trenches or along that line, maybe on the northern end of it, as we know is prone to be quite common. It looks like TE has a different idea, as they're going to go for the compounds that are going to be just on the, I guess that resets hill, just on the opposite side away from Na'Vi. Daytrade also hopping inside their vehicles. The north is just going to be a catastrophe. I mean, we've got so many teams that are going to be coming in this one. As 4M gets that early position, Daytrade going to be pushing in right along Na'Vi. They're probably going to make landfall into that same area, but 4AM is already entrenched in the northern part of it, so that's not going to be comfy in the slightest.
Yeah, not at all. And for 4AM at least, they don't have to deal with, you know, the utility bombardment that they're about to employ onto the team of Daytrade, as they did send it here early. I mean, there's really not much to play. I don't fault Daytrade for this, but they have to be aware that there's probably going to be a team on either side, and they're going to be very dangerously close to getting naded out.
We have a Chopsticks game with mortars in play.
Yeah, we do. I'm curious to see, Matt, if we're actually going to see them come into play. But Lou will find Little Ghost now as Twisted has come in to kind of dictate this fight. But a trade will go out. CC will find him.
Man, nobody's coming into this compound clean. It just is being a problem for everybody. Jalou going for some shots around that peak. Last one up knows the fact that his survival hinges on his aim, and he has got to be careful. Spyro, 2 members for Sarvum also still up, defended next to each other. But with this, you can see Petulance did have to kind of slow down with everything that's going on back behind. This one, they do get the reses out. Molotov's going to pop over. Spyro's going to at least be forced into this for a while. If anything, just slowing down the pace. You can see that's going to be Sovereign's job, is they want to see if maybe they can force the line a bit more into Twisted line going for 17. But it looks like Twisted Minds has got way more of a Sovereign line of approach.
Yeah, they do. And Sovereign have actually done a great job of holding this for now. Petulance trying to make an approach up, but Xiaowu is going to find him and push him back. They do, again, still have Spyro in that shack, so he is a little bit of that forward stall there for Twisted Minds. And they would love to get rid of them, but also Tai Lu is going to be a problem because they've pulled up on the north side in Gatco as soon as we actually saw Twisted leave, and so they're going to have an angle on this as well.
Gotta give respect, Sark. They're doing a great job of making sure
For a duo,
that,
yeah.
Like, they're like, no, you do not come over here. Here's that Tai Lu that you were talking about a second ago. We're just going to go ahead and make this a bit more complicated. And it is going to be Schiller that does end up getting the kill on it. 17 Gaming does get eliminated. It is going to be Longs that spots him through the window.
Yeah, and as you said, Sarvum somehow still surviving. They only have 2 kills, but they've actually done a pretty significant amount of damage in dictating a lot of the rotations around them and pushing people off. They somehow defended against 17. With the help of Xiaowu, actually, I believe it was him that panzered himself, so.
I mean, if you look at this, this is 17 Gaming and Twisted Minds both making a hold on your building. And you've been surviving in here, being able to, it's not been like,
it's awkward holding those one stories, trust me.
They're not thriving, but let's be honest, these are 2 very strong teams to try to defend up against, and they've been dictating, slowing down the pace of a lot of that, and once you can do that, there's a lot of benefit. New Circle's pop, and no surprise.
It's straight up on chopsticks.
More chopsticks, more better, and it's going to be, if you mind, Game PT going to jump out right on top of Esports, see if maybe they can hit some more. E-Arena's going to be trying to hold into this one, but now going to start dancing in. Molotov's going to get the connection, get the knock onto one of them. This has kind of come apart at the seams for E-Arena, though.
I still just love this aggression, though, Matt, from Game PT. Again, their adjustments and their proactivity from what we've seen in the past, especially when we're looking at group stages, is just 2 completely different teams. They're actually just adjusted so well to this, and I love seeing this from teams who have not necessarily struggled, but needed to be a little more aggressive in the past.
LG spots this one out at range, and looks like they're refereeing a bit, but keep in mind this is not really inside the circle. Bob saying head, still kind of leading the way in for his squad. To the north of this, it's going to be D plus Kia that's already going to be rotating in. We also have a massive sin coming out from Forest. They're just going to be bypassing in. Looks like Chopsticks are going to be their home as well, as that's just got to be what you can do at this stage, right? Is just stack as many vehicles as you can and hope that the nades hit the vehicles, flip them, and make it as okay as possible. Yeah, I was going to say, that was almost scary for us.
That they bounced right on the top of that UAZ. Yeah, that could have been devastating there for Forest. But again, I don't fault any of these teams for setting it into Chopsticks. It's pretty much one of the only positions that has any cover in the circle, because the rest of it is just open fields with maybe a few shacks. But now it's going to be very noisy in these 2 Chopsticks as we see Day Trade on one side, Force on the other, 4AM still holding that massive bowl, and then Na'Vi on the other. So this is just going to be chaos.
I don't know if you want to go into that dip just quite yet. Shot's going to come towards Summer. The rest of the squad's going to be coming back behind them. Looks like they just might be trying to cross entirely, and just going to Summer. Doesn't have anywhere to go. He's going to land right in front of Forrest and go like, hey guys, you need some loot? I got you. It's right here.
And Petrichor is just out just like that. I mean, again, this is the symptom of the circle. It's just devastating to rotate into this, Matt. I hated rotate. If you're not already set up, coming in, the comms on a team is usually like, all right, well, we just send it to Chopsticks and just pray.
A lot of the danger can come into play. Who's playing the top of Chopsticks, right? Who's defending it up and forcing everybody to make the crash into it?
And now Tai Lu.
That's just really going to be, I don't know, 4 angry men down in the firm defensive position. His vehicle's going to be bouncing right up in front of him. But I mean, Tai Lu, where do you even go? You're just walking right into 4 angry men. Up on top of this, though, back into the defense, it's going to be Na'Vi as well as the Expendables, Friendly Fire, all taking those shots in. That's a very strong defended line.
It is a very strong defended line, but look at this. LG has actually managed to make it into the shack, so they're not going to be necessarily in huge threat of getting bombarded with nades and utility just yet. Most of that will be focused in the Chopstick itself, so they're going to be in a nice position here. Again, a big opportunity here for LG to get more and more points.
Well done, if you mind. Reading the circle, realizing the fact that, you know, Chopsticks, that's death.
We're good.
Well, let's just go to the hill instead. And this is the safest place you can play from for right now. It's not going to be the easiest place to play from. Let's be honest there.
I won't be having what you're having.
Yeah, it's like, I think I'll pass. It's like, oh, well, that's the downside of it, though, right?
They do, though. Yes, it is a downside. If they can somehow get rid of D plus Kia, though, there is a little bit of a ridge there that they can play on the east. The problem with that even becomes, though, Friendly Fire has been sitting in this compound split for quite a while, and they have been perfectly safe, and they have nothing to contest them in the north.
Yeah, this area around Friendly Fire also has those hills and some sightline blocks that can be navigated.
They have such a good position.
You don't want to really be playing too much more to the northwest of where Friendly Fire is, but you can do it if it's just an absolute requirement, as we do have a couple of teams that are going to have to send it in. But I do agree. Friendly Fire's got themselves a strong position to play from. Na'Vi is going to go ahead and regroup in the south. This is going to be a couple of sins, but all in all, kind of calm circle outside that.
The thing to me with Friendly Fire is how many points can they get off of this, right? They obviously are in a very good position, but they're not exactly in a position to get all the kills right now, especially with teams kind of hunkered down on chopsticks and other angles being held against them. But if they can somehow convert this into a big kill game, even if they don't win, that's going to be huge for Friendly Fire.
This is also an interesting game for Day Trade, as they are down kind of in the joint position of the chopsticks itself, and whenever they're holding down inside that, well, sure, they only have 3 members up. This is an opportunity to get quite a bit of kills, as they can kind of watch what's going on with the firefights inside the trenches, as long as they can manage to survive through the storm of everything that's going to be coming, and Na'Vi so close to them.
They could actually have a decent position here to even fight Na'Vi, as you were saying, right? They do have these ridges, obviously that bowl that leads into the connecting tissue of the chopstick, so to speak. But yeah, I like the fact that they pulled off that chopstick early as well. They realized it was clean there. Instead of staying in the center, which would have almost meant certain death, they've actually taken a position now where they can take the fight to Na'Vi. Game PT, though, they are struggling right now. I'm not really sure where they go at this point, especially with D plus Kia taking shots, and Friendly Fire as well. Going to be highly aware this example is going to find Bobson head.
And yeah, like, where do you go off of this? You've got Friendly Fire that's going to be in front of you. Looks like they've stopped. There's a destructible shaft that's going to be over there. So cool, I guess. Here's the downside of destructible shacks is we're going to see a couple of throwables come out now. The UAZ, I think that's Bob's saying, it's UAZ that's going to be rolling up, providing some support and extra cover, but they're in a great position to try to gatekeep out what's going to be coming as long as those vehicles stay in the places they want them to be at.
They're just going to destroy that UAZ, and pretty much all the cover is just going to be gone, as actually it's going to be the help of Friendly Fire now that will take care of D plus Kia. And that's also going to be GP out of there. So both the teams on the east, we did say it was going to be very hard to play from there, especially with the positions of Na'Vi and Friendly Fire, will fall.
Speaking of
borders.
But the Expendables have kind of shifted into a 2-1-1, as they do have a lot of control. They're moving into that kind of hillside area that I was talking about beforehand that's going to be to the west of Friendly Fire, up on top of 4 a.m., but also kind of keeping an eye on what's going to be going on. They have probably the most information control out of any team inside this. Is they can kind of keep an eye on everything, keep their ears out as this does continue to go into chopsticks. It does leave out the joint connection in the middle of it, as well as Na'Vi's positional, but still some Friendly Fires.
Yeah, now the Expendables will have to move. And what is your play? I mean, there's really not much to play on the west side of this at all, but look at Duck Juice. I love that position. They should be able to flex towards the northwest now because he's there. So, again, great foresight to find that Ollie will find one, but the trade will come from Buchils. And Mel with the shotgun Nerds, though. This is back and forth.
Okay, Exam, what are you going to do? You're going to shift in. He knows the fact that he's had that information being fed over by a teammate, and it's going to be held by Day Trade. They picked up some very needed kills off of that. They need to get these reses quick, and they need to figure out how they're going to move into the circle. As they actually have 3 different options on how they can handle this.
They did, and that was a beautiful hold there from Day Trade. The fact that they got rid of Na'Vi was massive for them, as they're going to be able to move a little bit uncomfortably, but somewhat so into the circle. And so, again, starting to look alive for Day Trade as we now look at Friendly Fire, another team that needs a lot of points. They'll find a knock on a Duck Juice, and they're taking the fight to the Expendables.
Dylan coming in to provide some reinforcement. 777 still on the outside as Page was playing very far up to the north. He's going to come in also, see if maybe he can join himself into this one, but those nades hit big. They don't get the knock, but at least forces Friendly Fire away from the line. But 4 a.m. getting some vision into this one. Remember, they were playing that northern area of the chopstick. They've actually stepped out of it, hearing this firefight, realized the fact that they could pick up some kills of their own.
Yeah, they've been in that bowl for quite a while, and we saw them defend against multiple crashes, one of those being Tyloo, so they have quite a bit of utility as well, and things to loot of that nature, and they just going to be raining hell on this. As the Expendables, though, in a decent spot to kind of avoid that. Most of the ire coming from 4am is actually aimed at Friendly Fire.
This is a very, very big firefight for the end game. Whoever can get control over this is going to have a lot of control over the chopsticks, and that's one of the reasons why we keep seeing 4am step out. Sharp Shot's going to hit the shots onto Delwyn to get the knock into him. The Expendables backs up against the wall. Flush is going to connect as well, but here come the throwables. 4 a.m. realizing the fact that, hey, you know, we don't really have to get too aggressive into this hillside. Let's just use this utility. Let's continue to try to hit. But Friendly Fire is navigating it so well. They're keeping their focus right, beat it into the expendables, and shifting out from the nades every single time.
And this is exactly what Friendly Fire wants to do. When I was speaking to Roth, he's like, I just want to get my team in a position where we can fight. If we can do that, we'll build the confidence we need, and from there, we'll start to snowball forward. And this is, for all intents and purposes, exactly what he was talking about. And they still maintain 4 with 4 kills, and they have the expendables on the back foot.
I want to point out that Day Trade is moving down that western chopstick. That's one of the reasons also that 4 a.m. has had to focus now back down into the south. With how fast that Na'Vi fight ended, that's kind of shifted a lot of the vibe on what's going on over here to the north, as Friendly Fire still just trying to make sure that they keep expendables as an awkwardest position as possible. Roth just breaching into this one. He's got no fear. He's got his teammates at his back. He's trying to see if maybe he can find an angle into it, but there's just not enough vision to make it work. The tires being popped on the backside of the US just makes it to where there's no vision underneath of it.
That being said, though, they are now in the back foot as the blue will close and pretty much pushed him out. Friendly Fire has the expendables down to just an angle that they know is not favorable. And Roth, I like that he's spreading out. I do fear that maybe he could go down, but he's going to slow it down. He's going to loot some mollies, and this is going to be huge for him, as one's going to hit the tree and the other one's going to land right underneath them.
Oh, got to be
what I was worried
careful about it with him going down. The throwables are going to come out. Sharp Shot continuing to hold that line. That was Roth's job. He wanted to try to enforce as much as he could, and finally the expendables are going to go down. Friendly Fire gets control of the only team and the only position not inside the trench. Well, I guess LG is technically not in the trench either. They're in a shack, though. I don't know if that counts.
I do still feel, though, that Friendly Fire did not need to lose Roth there in order to take out the expendables.
Yeah.
I understand the play, a little bit of a mistake, but that's okay. They still have 3 members up. They still have Northside Circle, and now Roth can feed them all the information and really just kind of maintain. So this is still just fine for the Friendly Fire team.
Look at all of the cars inside these chopsticks. My lord. And this is the cleaner one, if anything.
Don't forget about LG, by the way.
LG's still inside their shack holding out over here, but Forest is just, they've got every angle onto it. There's no real easy way for these guys to get out of this. Throwables are going to be coming out. I mean, if anything, Friendly Fire is now starting to take some pot shots into it, and that's going to be all she wrote. That was a really good throw on the nade.
Yeah, that was a beautiful nade, but still, 5th place, 5 kills. LG, again, slowly climbing up that leaderboard, and they just need to keep maintaining this and stay consistent. And there's a very real chance that they can actually dig this one out of the fire.
Man, this is some teams that are needing some points. 4 Angry Men, Friendly Fire, Day Trade, Forest back behind this one. All of our top 4 teams remaining. 4 aim maintaining their namesake, still being at 4 Angry Men at the time, whereas everybody else only at
only
3.
4, yeah.
Only 4-man stack that's present, as they do have the biggest problem to contend with, and Day Trade to the south and Friendly Fire to the north, though.
Friendly Fire, though, they do still have this ridge to play, and so they have the road. They do need to be careful about 4 a.m. The ideal situation for them is that Day Trade gets pushed into 4 a.m. and then they can kind of pour over and crest this ridge and do a lot of damage. But Forest, Olympus is actually very much looking at this and knows that there's going to be a team on the north that has to move eventually. Meanwhile, Forest doesn't have to do anything.
I mean, look at the center of our circle. That's that area in between the 2 chopsticks, right? We've got a couple of hay bales that are out there. I think that a crate has landed. Nade does do some damage off of it, but you can see this is kind of an attrition war for right now. Nobody wants to commit in. A lot of smokes, a lot of utility. Sharp Shot being a bit more aggressive into it. Page is going to find Japion, and that's going to get the knock on to him, but Lou's still holding this line. You can see the Friendly Fire quite stacked up. Realize the fact that they could have some problems if they make it. They're going to run right in with the blue zone. Nade now down. They're trying to crest that hillside. It's going to be all on to HSMM to hold it together, but Page finds yet another one stepping right down into the thick of it.
And I love this play coming out from Friendly Fire. They know that they just take this position away from 4 a.m. They'll be in a wonderful spot to actually win the game, but they're going to fight back, and now Day Trade will come in from the backside.
They have the angles into the definitive line of 4 a.m., and it's just coming apart right now. There's too many different angles that they have to try to hold down. They've got their focus up on the Sharp Shot, who's still clinging to life up there. It came at a massive cost for Friendly Fire, as they are going to go down, but Day Trade roams into this one, and there's still 1 Angry Man left.
It's going to be Shalu. He's going to be on the other side of that drainage pipe and the RB, and they know that there's still 1 member left here. He's going to go for the spray. He won't find it, and Day Trade will find the kill, and it is just down to a 3-on-3 between one chopstick and the other.
I love this. While that was happening, Forrest Monto, he managed to jump out, move up, see if he could get it more aggressive. The issue is he's not getting a lot of information off it. The firefight has now ended, and this is kind of an almost mirrored matchup, right? We've got two north on both sides and one to the south. Mirroring chopsticks. Like, this is such a almost mirror circle, the way that this is set up, with somehow keeping in just enough of both of the chopsticks to make it fair.
This is really going to come down to, Matt, who gets the first knock, right? Who's going to be able to poke and prod and get enough damage to really allow whichever team to move forward first. Obviously, I mean, when it comes to day trade, they have so much loot to choose from. Probably replenish those vests, maybe get some more smokes if there is even smokes left on those bodies, maybe some utility. But yeah, Forest Gaming have also not really had to do too much. They haven't had to have too many teams crash them, because being in that right chopstick was actually friendly fire that was kind of protecting them for quite a while.
We're kind of getting a showcase of different fun areas on Erangel the past 2 days, right?
Yeah, we have, man.
We got school, we got Everest, now we got ourselves chopsticks. Lord only knows where we are going to go next. As you can see, it's just a couple of shots here, there. Yeah, just keep it together. This is where you don't let the momentum get away from you, right? You've just got to play it slow, play it steady. Don't get too hyped out. Don't get in your own head. Just make sure you hit the shots as they present themselves. This is an error fight more than this is anything else, as Olympus trying to see if he spots anything through these hail bells, making it so difficult to navigate.
Forest is, though, getting much more proactive. They've already sent members, as you saw, into the field. They're using those smokes to move forward and slowly start to take control of the center circle. That nade is so close to getting Puccios, but the blue will just barely make it. Not in time to get the knock onto him, and so Day Trade now also trying to make the approach, but Forest have taken up so much space in this one.
We keep seeing Forest, they set their eyes to the north, and every single time they do that, Puccios managing to find a way to kind of squeeze down in here just a bit more down to the south. Lots of utility coming out. Master's got a very hard job for himself, as he's got to make sure that he's feeding over as much of the information as he can. Just kind of wild Molotovs going out to see if you can slow down any movement to counterbalance out what's going on with these smokes. Is now it's kind of shifted. Forest got to the area that they wanted. This time now it's going to be Day Trade that's shifted in, and now both teams feel like they've got their defensive line for the time being, waiting for someone to peek out this flash. See, it goes for a couple of shots, but Master, he needs to keep himself alive over here. He is such a flank position. Nurin's gonna go down, and Forest finds two. Now they got the line on the flash. He picks up another one, 1v1. Munto one side, Flash on the other.
And I'm actually surprised that Destructible Abel has not gone down yet, as one of the members here of Day Trade is trying to just crawl forward. It's just down to a peak battle. Flash is going left and right, and he will find it. Day Trade desperately needed the win, and they will capture it.